Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to demystify a term you've probably heard thrown around a lot, Scrum. It's a framework that has totally changed the game for how teams build, well, just about everything. So, if you've ever heard that word and kind of nodded along but weren't 100% sure what it was all about, don't worry, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to cover what Scrum is and why you'd even use it. Then we'll meet the team, look at the day-to-day rhythm, check out their essential tools, and wrap up with why it all just works.
Okay, first things first. What is Scrum? Well, at its heart, it's a way to deal with really complex problems.
So let's just imagine for a second. How would you build something really complex if you don't have all the answers right at the start? Picture building a brand new food delivery app. On day one, there's just no way you can know every single feature your customers will want, right? Or what problems the drivers are going to run into. The market's always changing, new competitors pop up. A super rigid, detailed plan made a year in advance? Yeah, that's just destined to fail.
And that's exactly where Scrum shines. Now, the key word here is framework. It's not some super strict rule book you have to follow to the letter. Think of it more like a simple set of guardrails that helps teams handle all that uncertainty, delivering value little by little, piece by piece. Okay, so Scrum stands on three really simple, almost common sense ideas. First up is transparency. This just means everyone can see what's going on, the good, the bad, all of it. With that visibility, you can have inspection. The team is constantly checking in on their progress and how they're working. And that leads to the third pillar, adaptation. Based on what they find during inspection, they adjust their plan. See, it's this constant feedback loop. See it, check it, change it. Learn and improve over and over again.
So, who actually makes all this happen? Let's meet the cast of characters, the three essential roles on any Scrum team.
First, you've got the product owner. You can think of them as the captain of the ship. They're the ones setting the destination. Their whole job is to represent the customer and the business, making sure the team is always working on the most important thing next. They own that big master to-do list and are constantly prioritizing it for maximum value.
Then there's the Scrum Master. Now, this is not your typical project manager. They're what we call a servant leader. Their goal isn't to boss people around. It's to help the team be the best it can be. They do this by coaching, making sure the Scrum process is running smoothly, and, this is a big one, clearing any obstacles out of the team's way.
And last but certainly not least, you have the development team. These are the makers, the engineers, the designers, the testers, the people who actually build the thing. And here's what's so cool. They're self-organizing. The product owner tells them what is needed, but nobody tells the dev team how to build it. That freedom, that autonomy is what leads to real ownership and some seriously creative problem solving.
So, to put it really simply, the product owner focuses on the why. What are we building and why is it valuable? And the development team focuses on the how. What's the best way to actually get it done? This clean separation and partnership is absolutely key to making Scrum work.
All right, we've met the team. Now let's talk about the rhythm of their work. The whole thing is built around this cycle called the sprint.
The sprint really is the heartbeat of Scrum. It's a short, fixed-length cycle, usually 1 to 4 weeks long, and during that time, the team's goal is to create a finished, working piece of the product. The key word there is working. At the end of every single sprint, you should have something tangible, something valuable that you could, if you wanted to, release to your customers. And every sprint has the same predictable flow. It all kicks off with sprint planning, where the team figures out what they're going to tackle. Then you've got the sprint itself, that focused work period, and each day they have a quick check-in called the daily scrum. When the sprint ends, they hold a sprint review to show off what they've built and get feedback. And finally, they do a sprint retrospective to talk about how they can work better next time. And then the whole cycle just starts over again. Okay, so how does everyone keep track of all of this stuff? That's where the three key artifacts of Scrum come in. They're basically the tools that make all the work transparent.
First, you've got the product backlog. This is the master list. It's the one single place where every idea, feature, or fix for the product lives. It's not set in stone either. It's a dynamic, prioritized list managed by the product owner, with the most important stuff always sitting right at the top.
So, when it's time for sprint planning, the team looks at the top of that big product backlog and pulls off a chunk of items they're confident they can finish in the sprint. That chunk becomes the sprint backlog. It's their game plan for the next couple of weeks. And they also create a sprint goal, a single sentence that explains why this sprint is important and what they're trying to achieve.
And what do they produce at the end? That's called the increment.
This is the sum of all the work they completed during the sprint. And when we say completed, we mean really completed. It's not just kinda done. It has to meet a quality standard that the whole team agrees on, called the definition of done. It's basically their shared checklist to make sure everything is truly finished and ready to go.
Okay, let's pull all these pieces together. We've got the roles, the events, the tools. So why does this actually work so well? Well, it all comes down to one thing: a relentless focus on delivering value.
One of the most powerful things about Scrum is how it bakes feedback right into the process. Take the sprint review. A lot of people think it's just a demo, a show and tell, but it's so much more than that. It's a critical moment for stakeholders to see the real working product and give feedback. It's how the team makes sure they're still on the right track to delivering what people actually want.
And when you look at it this way, you can see how every single piece of Scrum is laser-focused on value. That product backlog, that's all your potential future value, all lined up. The sprint review, that's your feedback loop to make sure you're actually building the right value. The increment and the definition of done, that's your guarantee that the value is real and deliverable. It's just a system designed top to bottom to find and deliver value.
So let's leave you with this idea. The real magic of Scrum isn't in the specific meetings or roles. It's in those three pillars: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Remember, it's a framework, not a rulebook. So the real question for you is, how can you take those core ideas, making your work more visible, checking in on it regularly, and not being afraid to change course, and apply them to whatever it is you do?